Hey guys, Richard Blaine here. Thanks for stopping by my Easy Cooking channel tonight. Once again, I'm not in my cooking jacket because once again, I'm not cooking for you. Today we're going to discuss the subject of knife sharpening, or more specifically, knife honing. I've already done a 3-part series about how to hone your knives with a honing steel. And today, I'm going to do a review of the different kinds of honing rods there are and how to figure out what your angles are for the rod for those who don't have any experience. It's going to be a quick video, but I have a little bit of a surprise that might make the chore of learning how to use a honing rod that much more simpler for those of you with very little or no experience at all. So as usual, stay tuned and let's get to work. First up on the agenda is to describe the different kinds of honing rods that there are in the kitchen. This is a standard Japanese honing rod, not much different from a German honing rod. It's corrugated, lands and grooves corrugated, and when used properly, if you hear the sound, it will straighten the rolled edge of your knife. It does not require a lot of pressure. Too many people beat the steel to death, right, and pound the knife against the steel too hard. But the fact of the matter is that this steel honing rod is harder than the steel of the knife. Therefore, when used properly, the hardness of the rod will straighten the softness of your knife edge and bring it back to life. And in so doing so, the lands and grooves, the corrugations of this steel will cut some very fine, if done correctly, micro serrations into the bottom of your primary cutting edge. That is a standard corrugated Japanese and or German and or American quality honing steel. The other kind of honing rod is a ceramic honing rod. I've been using this honing rod for about a decade. This is a matte black ceramic honing rod. It is roughly 2,000, 2,200 grit, roughly. It's a synthetic alumina ceramic. It is smooth on two sides of the circle and corrugated on two sides. Now, this particular rod is extremely hard, all right, on a scale of 1 to 10, a diamond being the hardest. The ceramic rod is about a 9. It's definitely harder than the corrugated steel. And the same principle applies, light touch. Okay, it's a different sound on the smooth side than on the corrugated steel, isn't it? But if it's done correctly, it'll be melodic and consistent. On the corrugated side of the ceramic rod, it'll sound a little different. A little louder, but still consistent, melodic. And this ceramic will take some steel off of the knife edge, but not very much. Microns, even less than microns. Right? But it will straighten the steel. It will straighten the knife edge. And as I said, it will remove microns of metal and fill up with filings. We've discussed that. Also, the corrugated steel, because it is corrugated and rough, will take a certain amount of steel off your knife edge as well. But it's so minute, it's nothing to worry about. The third kind of honing rod, or I should call a sharpening rod, that I'd like to talk about here for a moment, is the diamond honing rod. And I use the term honing lightly because it is diamond, and on a scale of 1 to 10, diamonds being the hardest, this diamond will take steel in the form of microns off of this knife if used correctly. The difference between this diamond and the ceramic and the corrugated rods is that the diamond will take more metal off, but besides the fact that the diamond will hone, it will also sharpen if the knife is a little more than rolled. If you can hear that. It's melodic. It's consistent. But it's also the sound of a cut. It's actually removing more metal than the corrugated rod, than the ceramic rod. And that's all right. Because in the process of sharpening in the kitchen, if you don't have a full complement of stones and plates, such as I do, or anybody else, you can sharpen and keep your knives sharp with a combination of rods, as I do. So this diamond rod is taking metal as well as straightening. Watch the pressure. You don't need a lot of pressure. And when you are done with the diamond, naturally there will be some minute scratches at the edge of the blade. And the way you would get them out is to use the smooth of the MAC black ceramic or any other ceramic rod that you have on hand to smooth out the scratches, which technically are lands and grooves on your knife blade. So the polishing will bring the lands down to the grooves and make the blade even. You don't need a lot of pressure. Count off your strokes. Mind the pressure. The pressure should be the same on both sides. And then what you'll end up with, oh boy. Can you hear that? I know a lot of people don't like it when I do my nail, but you know, if you can see the crickets or hear the crickets and see what's coming off my nail. And I know people don't like it when I do this, but I have been doing this for years. I've only been injured maybe once. But that is sharp. Be that as it may, that's not what I want to talk about here on this video. And what I really want to talk about on this video is, once you understand the difference between these different kinds of honing and sharpening rods, is how do you find the angle, and that's what I'm going to talk about next. So, as a review, what I want to discuss with you is finding the angle at which to hone your knives with. Now, a proper corrugated steel and your knife. All right, I'm going to use the spine just to show you. If you do it wrong, gritty. Right? If you lay the knife perfectly flat, you scratch up the primary plane of your blade, primary surface. You don't want to do that. If you lean it just right, as I said, consistent, melodic. That's really all there is to it. But there are times when people find it difficult to find the angle on the knife, and that is when the angle guide comes in. This angle guide is a nifty little tool developed by a friend of mine named Jim at theangleguide.com. He's been working on this for quite some time, been looking for a simplified way of teaching people how to learn the angles when using a honing rod or even a flat stone. And he asked me to do some videos, and I agreed to do some videos. And the first one I'm going to do is to show you how to properly use this angle guide to find the angle of your knife. All right, so hang on tight and I'll show you how it works. One of the basic ways we're taught how to find the angle of a knife to use a honing rod is by placing our corrugated steel on a towel in the kitchen, and then to take the knife and play with the angle. Nice, melodic, not grabbing. This is the simplest way. This is the simplest way. But sometimes we still get the angle wrong. So I'm going to show you how to use this angle guide and how to get it right. So what we do to use this angle guide, this cone, to figure out the angle at which we want to hone our knives, it's very simple. We just slip it right onto our honing steel. That's it. Put the honing steel on the towel, find your knife. See? Measure the spine to the spine of the angle guide. Bring the blade down. Boom. There it is. Right there. Perfect every time. Line up the spine of the knife to the spine of the guide. Tilt. Right there. Line up the spine of your knife to the spine of the guide. Tilt it in. Right there. All right. Bring it back down again. There it is. Very, very simple. Now, yes, is this process slow? Yes, it is slow. But what these angle guides are designed to do is to teach you where the angle lies, the muscle memory, to know that in so many days, weeks, or months, depending on you, that you'll get to the point where you don't need the angle guide at all, and you will know matter-of-factly, there I am. That's all it is. It's a muscle memory trainer. It works on any of the rods that I have, any of the rods that you have. Like I said, just slip it right on. Measure the spine, bring the knife down right there. Right there. And this is where you learn the muscle memory. Now, me personally, I don't sharpen and I don't hone a knife using this technique any longer. But there's another way of using this angle guide the way I use a honing steel, and I'm going to show that to you right now. So everybody knows that when I hone a knife, I do it this way. And it's been years since I made my videos originally, and people argue with me about how this gets done. But this truly is the way to do it, the best way to do it, the way professionals do it. Some professionals still do it this way, but after so many years, this is the way to do it. And no, I have never been cut doing it this way. Now, if you don't know the angle of your knife to hone this way, once again, we take the angle guide, we slip it on, we bring it down until it has a firm grip, right about there. Beauty. And then what I do, you take the knife, boom, right there. You slide it down the guide until the blade meets the steel. Done. Bring it here, right there, until the blade hits the steel. Done. See? Here it is laying on the guide. Bring it down. Done. Right here. Bring it down. There's the blade on the steel being angled. Done. Done. Wonderful. You just do it slow, and this angle guide will teach you the muscle memory you need to have in order to get to the point eventually where you don't need the guide at all, because you know where the angle is automatically. And you'll be sharpening and honing just the way I do every day, all day long, I promise. The angle guide will also work with your diamond sharpening rod. Once again, lay the blade onto the guide, bring it down until you feel the blade hit the rod. There's your angle. Nice and easy. Place the blade against the angle, bring it down until the blade hits the rod. Nice and easy. Bang. Nice and easy. Right there. Nice and easy. There you go. This is sharpening now. Against the guide, bring the blade down. Perfect. Against the guide, bring the blade down. Against the guide, bring the blade down. Perfect every time. The angle guide will also work the other way. you attach the angle guide, cone facing you, place your blade on the guide, right there, see? Right there, see? Right there. There's the blade. Place the blade against the guide. There's the blade on the other side, see? Place the blade on the guide, bring it down. Blade on the guide, bring the blade down to the rod. Perfect every time. Every time. And then eventually, you won't need the guide because you will know where the angle is because you've learned it with muscle memory. This is a diamond sharpening rod that I'm using. So naturally, you're going to need to know the angle on the ceramic rod, and that's what I'm going to show you next. So I've attached the angle guide to my MAC black ceramic, and I've put the angle to the flat side of the ceramic because I want to polish out the scratches. And once again, I lay the blade on the guide and I bring it down right there. Right there, see it? Right there, see it? Bang, there's the angle. Done. Lay the blade against the guide underneath. There's the angle. Done. Lay the blade against the angle. Bring it down. Done. As well here. Done. As well here. Again. Done. And then eventually, you don't need the guide because your muscle memory, you will have taught yourself what the proper angle should be every time. It's an excellent, 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 inexpensive learning tool for you to learn the angles at which you need to know to hone and sharpen your knives. The angle guide's a complete kit, by the way. I'm just showing you the cones that allow you to sharpen and hone on rods. These coned guides come in multiple angles, 14, 16, 18, and 20 degrees. And I know you're saying, well, why? How do we know the angle of our knives? And I will get into that with you in another video when I start sharpening the knives on flat stones, demonstrating the angle guide. Right? But you'll have to know a little bit more about the blade geometry in order to figure out what the angle is, and I will go into how you figure that out in future videos. But for this video, I just wanted to show you how the angle guide works. It works very well. Angle guide. I'll have a link to Jim's site in my description box. A very useful tool to learn how to use your honing steels. I want to thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.